Hi everyone, this is Andrew from mobileburn.com, and I'm reviewing a phone with a breathtaking screen. I speak, of course, of the HTC DROID DNA, available at Verizon. Let's talk about what makes the DROID DNA such an amazing phone, and I speak, of course, of the 5-inch Super LCD 3 screen. It's pretty much, what's the word I'm looking for? Amazing. That's all I can say about it. There's nothing I can complain about when it comes to the screen. It's a 1080p HD display, and quite frankly, it just looks incredible. When you zoom in on things, you can see the colors, they just look a little more realistic. Like when you see Super AMOLED, people complain about blue tints or they complain about high contrast levels in some other devices. You don't see that in here. Things look balanced. Things look the way they're supposed to. And aside from that, it's just so many pixels packed into it within a specific area. The 5-inch screen has great viewing angles, and it has a 1920 by 1080 resolution. So that's about 440 pixels per inch. So it doesn't matter how far you zoom in on the text. The text just renders perfectly all the time. Nothing breaks down. When you look at pictures, they just look amazing on it. When you watch video, it's amazing. When it comes to display quality, it's not even a question of if this is the best. It's a question of how much better is this compared to every other device. Now, at a certain point, your eye's not even going to be able to pick up how complex the pixel is. Like let's say with retina display or with something just having a lot of pixels, your eyes can't reach 440, so it's not really a difference of 440 versus like 390 or something. The thing that makes this special is the size of the screen and how many there are, and it's just the overall quality. Just all, it's like the total package. Everything just comes together exactly the way that you hoped it would. Now, it's not a miracle worker. It's not going to magically make YouTube look that much better than it did before, but it will be an improvement. And if you have local video stored that you're playing rather than streaming, it's definitely noticeable. The video quality is just overall better. It's an HD display, 1080p, and like I said, it's without match when it comes to mobile devices. Speaking of HD, the DROID DNA has a very solid HD camera on the back. It's 8 megapixels, has 2.0 aperture, and it takes solid high quality photos. Sometimes it might look a little too warm. You know, the reds might pop a little bit. There might be a little too much brightness, but overall it does a very good job. It has the BSI, so it does good when it's picking up light sources. It has very balanced shots, as you can see from the samples that I've included in the video. And aside from an excellent rear camera, it has a nice camera on the front that's 2.1 megapixels. And the thing that's interesting about this camera is typically when you take a front-facing camera with like a group photo or something, everyone has to squeeze in to make sure that you're all in frame. But you don't have to do that with this because it has a wide-angle lens, about 88 degrees. It picks up more people. It picks up more of your surroundings. So it does a very nice job with that. The camera software is what you expect from HTC. Nothing has really changed since you've seen previous versions of it. You have the little continuous shot mode that if you hold down on the button, it takes a series of photos and it saves them all, and you can choose between them. Very nice and easy to manage. It has like the best shot. You can choose which ones you're going to keep, which you'll delete. It also has the recording mode that when it shoots 1080p video, if you tap that button right there while you're recording, it'll take a snapshot of that image. There are also some nice settings that you can play around with. You can adjust for slow motion. You can have different scenes in HDR mode, panorama, group portraits, all of that. And aside from that, once you've taken a picture, you can play around with filters and all of that stuff. Now back to the design of the device. When you hear this has a 5-inch screen, you're instantly thinking, oh my goodness, this is a gigantic phone, sort of like the Galaxy Note 2. And when you see the two of them together, you see that's not really the case. The Galaxy Note 2 is more of a behemoth compared to this. When you put the two together, you see that there's still a lot more on the right side. There's still a little bit more on the top, and they're not too far off in depth. What makes this phone more unique when it comes to the large size phones is that it only has a 5-inch screen. Can you imagine? Did you think we'd be saying only 5-inch in recent years? But because this is a little slimmer, it has a taller profile. It's not that bad. It is larger than a normal phone for sure, but it's very light. It's 142 grams. I can balance it with just a couple of fingers. It has 141 by 70.5 millimeters, and the thickness, or thinness I should say, is 9.73 millimeters. As for button placement and all of that, there's some good and bad. The good, on the sides, you have your speakers that are very nice, and it's well hidden, and they're loud. On speakerphone, it's very good. When you're listening to audio sources, it's very good. On the left, it's blank completely. On the right, you have another speaker, but you also have your volume up and down buttons right here. At the top, you have power button, the micro SIM slot, and 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. The problem with this setup is that when you're holding the phone like this, let's say you want to turn off the power button, you've got to reach awkwardly for it, or you have to switch hands, tap on that. Another major problem that I have, on the bottom, you have this very annoying little flap to cover up the micro USB port. And that also has MHL built in case you want to do HDMI out and charge the phone at the same time. The problem with this is that when you go to close it, it's very annoying. It's also, you often have to like put a little extra effort into closing it. It's just really annoying, and you wish it wasn't there. It's there to make the phone more splash resistant and resist water a little more, but at a certain point, you start thinking to yourself, I'd rather take the chance of this messing up than having to deal with this all the time. If you're paying attention, you probably noticed that I didn't mention a micro SD slot. That's because there isn't one. And that's sort of a problem when you see that there's only 16 gigabytes of internal storage on the device. With apps alone, I already have a gigabyte. Music, I only have 520 MB. So if you're someone who wants to store a lot of photos, a lot of pictures, you're going to run into a problem because the storage space is limited on this device. I'm already 6.78 gigabytes, and I barely loaded anything on this. So you might run into a space crunch at some point. As for software, it's the same HT Sense that you know and love or hate depending on your viewpoint. It's running Android 4.1 with Sense UI on top of it, of course. So you've got your famous people widgets that you can use to contact people, or you can have your email view available on the home screen. Let me go back. You might notice a few things different with, for instance, folders. You can create a folder, of course. You can rename it. You can add items to it, or if you don't want something to be in that folder, you can take it off and add it to a new one, or just take it off and remove it from the phone completely by dragging it up, and it removes that shortcut. The app drawer has a few interesting things. They've got tabs, so you can see I have all the apps that I use most frequently in case I want to access them with a quick link. I can have just the apps I've downloaded, or I can have the Verizon apps, which are preloaded on the phone. And as you can see, there are more than a few of those that are preloaded. But it's not just Verizon apps that appear on the screen. There's also quite a hefty serving of Amazon in this. The Amazon app, Amazon Kindle, pretty much all of the Amazon mobile apps are built into this. That's part of a deal that Amazon has worked out with Verizon. They even got an app for Zappos in case you're a shoe addict. But let's say you want to change the tabs that appear in this list. You just tap on that and go to edit tabs. And then at the bottom you can see you can remove certain things. Like if I don't want to have frequent, I just drag it off. And then say I don't want to have a dedicated Verizon view. But widgets have always been the strong suit of Sense UI, and you can add them easily by holding down on a blank space on the home screen. And of course you can add a number of different clocks. They have a lot of stylish clocks that you can add. You can choose a city. All right, I've got what I want. So now I can see this giant clock, and I say, you know what, maybe I don't want that. All I have to do is remove it, or I could have edited it. And then of course you have your calendar, more clocks. There are a lot of clocks in Sense, I'm sure you're aware. And then all the other apps that you've installed. You can filter the widgets by certain apps, or for instance, if I just want to see a Facebook app or an email app, but I say, you know what, I want a Gmail widget. I just tap on Gmail, and then it shows me only the Gmail. And then I hold down, I choose a label, my inbox. All right, once I have it, I can edit it and drag it along to make it bigger or smaller, whichever one makes most sense to me. Yes, the messaging app is pretty nice. It uses Sense, of course, has a very good looking interface. When I tap on a name, I can make attachments with photos and send them to people. And the keyboard is pretty good because of the large screen, a 5-inch screen. You're going to have more space to reach. So you're going to have fairly accurate buttons. So I'm going to say, hello there. This is Andrew, the greatest person. Oh, I made a mistake right there. I missed a space button, so I can't correct it. But if I press back enough times, I see greatest, and I can go about my business and start typing again. You also have the numbers there. It's pretty much the standard keyboard of what you're used to seeing. Aside from that, let's take a look at the browser really quick. You go into internet, and it's based on the standard Android 4.1 browser, but HTC has made a lot of customizations, obviously. Aside from the appearance, where you have at the top bar, you type right there, and you can choose which website you want to go to. You can switch between different tabs by tapping on the tabs button, and you just go through like that. And if you want to close one, you just type the little X right there. You can start a new tab or go into an incognito tab, which basically has no history, no save search or anything like that. Anything you can do is going to be contained within this browser, and once this session is completed, all that information is cast aside. You can also have bookmarks. You can access your history and all that stuff, and you can choose to view the desktop site. So if you go to a website that shows you the mobile view by default, you can just tap View Desktop Site, and it'll change everything for you. You can also print, which is pretty cool. If you have a printer on Wi-Fi, you can just add a printer to it, and you can scan for them as well. I don't have any printers set up right now, but if you need to print directly from your device, that's an option that's built into the browser app. The browser app moves pretty quickly. No matter what website I went to, it was able to get there fast. It loads quickly, and it responds to pretty much either desktop or mobile. Right now I'm on the full mobileburn.com, the desktop version, and I'm not on Wi-Fi. You can see I'm on 4G, and it loaded everything very fast, and now I can go about my business and continue browsing. Notice that little menu button there. All right, when you tap it, you'll see that, oh, the menu there. Okay, perfect, that makes sense. But actually it doesn't make sense, because this is Echophone, which has already been designed for Android 4.0 conventions. So it has the action bar up there. What you're seeing here is a virtual menu button, because HTC did that for backwards compatible apps, because they use capacitive physical buttons instead of the virtual buttons like you see in the Galaxy Nexus or the LG Nexus 4. They put this there thinking that this would be a familiar way for people to access the menu button. The problem is, in certain apps you don't need it, so it wastes real estate and it just sits there annoying you. I don't know why HTC has yet to figure this out. We thought that with the One X, they had managed to find a way to give you the option of getting rid of this and holding down to use the virtual buttons. That's not an option here. While we're on the subject of buttons, obviously this is the back button, this is the home button. When you hold down on home, it brings you to Google Now search, which is of course a hit. Google Now works very well if you've seen it on other implementations of Android. And when you tap the multitasking button, it brings you through a different view of all the apps that are open. You can swipe to close Google Now, or I can tap on Echophone to go back to it and start tweeting and saying how much this menu button really annoys me. The music app is kind of a hit and a miss. It's a miss because the display is actually kind of boring. When you're actually playing a song, it has nice big buttons that are easy control. I like that. But when it comes to browsing through the music and content, it's kind of annoying. When you launch the music app, it's pretty much a hub for all the different apps. You can buy music from Amazon MP3, you can launch the Google Play Music app, or you can do that outside of this as well. Slacker and TuneIn are preloaded apps that come with the phone. But let's say you want to add it. Let's say you have like Spotify or RDO or Pocket Cast, which you can do. When you tap menu, you can add an app shortcut, and it'll give you a list of places that you can add. Let me see, Pocket Cast. All right, I'll add Pocket Cast. So now whenever I want to listen to media, I know I can come here, and this will be the way I get to it. When you want to listen to music that's actually stored on the device using the HTC app, you can go and browse by albums, genres, artists, anything like that, or you can search, but the search actually isn't very good. I've had some songs that come up missing. I don't know why that is, but whatever the case, maybe it's problems with the way it reads the tags. But compared to some of the other music apps, first, it's the Sony one that I raved about. I really like the way that Sony treats music. Their album app is pretty good. This one is not as good, but it has some good qualities. When you press play, you can access the controls directly from the notification drawer. And I can press pause. And of course, like I showed you at the beginning, there's this nice little widget that comes with it. I'll pause that. You can have shuffle mode as well. Now, you can manage your queue, or when you press the menu button, you can select which player is going to open. You can actually connect this to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth devices to stream your music over to them. I'll cancel that. But I can also update the album art, and this will search for album art because you notice this one doesn't have any cover art. And when you're browsing by album, that can be a little disappointing. It has it for this one, but not this one, so I can go out and search for it. That's something that I like. But the overall design and presentation, I'm not too keen on. It's important to note that this is a Beats audio device, so it comes with basically just some software equalizer settings that just amplify the bass. You don't get to actually personalize the settings. It's all done automatically for you, which is kind of disappointing. I'd much prefer being able to alter the EQ settings to my liking and listen to a song that way. If you're looking for another hit, look no further than the Gallery app. It's kind of the same approach that when you open it, it shows you the many places that you can view photos. If you'd like to add more, if you have an online account that displays photos, like, I don't know, a photo bucket or something, if it's linked to your phone, you can just press menu and add online service. You can also send these photos to a media server if you want. But if I don't want to browse through Facebook, I want to browse the photos that are actually on my device. This is good because you can browse according to album. You see Instagram, camera shots, screenshots, all of that. But I can also browse according to events. This is basically organize it by date. And when you do that, it switches to this nice little square view. You browse through the sections and you can actually tap on a date and see all the photos that you took that day. And then here's me with messing around with my Movember mustache. At the bottom, I can obviously share, delete, play, or tap more to select the player that I mentioned before, or to print photos directly to a printer that's connected wirelessly. The interesting thing about this is that if you don't want to browse by gallery or by album, you can also tap map. Now, if you have GPS enabled, this will show you all the places that you took photos, and you see the little marker there. When I zoom out, I've got a couple more markers down in Florida that I can browse, and I can zoom in and mess around with those as well. Now, this is able to work because of GPS coordinates. So the phone has GPS coordinates tapped on with your camera. If you don't want people to be able to track you, because that's what got McAfee in trouble, you go into the camera app, you go into settings, and you scroll down to camera options, and then where it says geotag photos, make sure that's off, because if that's on, every location that you snap a photo is going to be embedded into the photo, and it's going to be able to be viewed by the maps. So it's good if you want to have that, but bad if you don't. So make sure that setting is off. When you get right down to it, the DROID DNA is a very impressive phone. As you can see from this benchmark and other benchmarks that you'll run on it, it has a very strong processor, it's solid on battery life, and the true star of the show is, of course, the screen. It's just, frankly, the best screen you'll ever see. Well, I shouldn't say ever, because you never know what happened, but it's the best screen that you've seen so far. I can pretty much guarantee that. Then you add a solid camera, strong LTE speeds in most areas, and you've got what's got to be one of the most impressive phones available today, not just on Verizon, but period. The only negative I can say about this phone is that there are some shortcomings of Android since of Android 4.1 with SenseUI, of course, and the phone itself is a little bit daunting for some people. Like I mentioned, it's light. It's not as wide as the Galaxy Note 2, but it is taller than the average phone. So it might not be what some people are looking for. Also, the back is it just builds up moistures and fingerprints, so that might be annoying. Even though it's comfortable to hold, there might be times when you're touching it and you just don't like the feel of it. Other than that, it's got an incredible camera, an incredible screen. It's fast, it's powerful. It's gonna last you most of the day. Unless you're really taxing it, you shouldn't need to charge it more than once a day. And because of that, I'd say this is an amazing phone that you're probably not going to regret buying if you get this. This is the Droid DNA, available now at Verizon, and this is Andrew from mobileburn.com. Hope you enjoyed the video.